Hello everyone, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Okay. Hello, I'm Latya and I'll be taking your session for today. Also, just a few things to keep in mind, guys. You guys can you can just raise your hands and then switch on your mic to like ask questions if you have. Good that we have a small batch today. I just want you guys to like raise hands before straight up talking. I'm just gonna call out your name and then you can talk. I'd like to keep this interactive because it'll help you guys way more than just you listening to me rant for it like for 1.5 hours. Okay, that works for everybody.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am, it works.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So, I think you've learned quite a lot about characterization and how to identify what sorts of motions that you get. And also, you learned about rebuttals and POIs in the last classes, if I'm not wrong. All of you are comfortable with that? Do you have any doubts that you want to get cleared first before going on with the session? Yes,
Excuse me, ma'am.
Aryan. Yes,
Yes, ma'am. I have a doubt in mechanization. I would appreciate if you could brief it once again.
mechanization as in the entire part.
Sort of, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, I'll come back to you. Aryan?
Ma'am, I had the same query.
Okay, cool. Anushka?
Ma'am, I wanted to confirm that if we have a motion that's hypothetical, I wanted to know how do you characterize a hypothetical motion?
That, okay, we'll cover a motion similar to that later on after you finish today's session as well. Does that work?
Um,
Because I think it would be better if you do like case specific for this note.
yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
and
Thank
also
you, ma'am.
coming to mechanization. Yeah, okay, that no problem. Coming to mechanization, what did you guys learn? Can any one of you brief me? How much did you understand? Anyone who thinks that you've understood it well, guys. None of you understood mechanization. Aryan, if you could explain what you didn't understand or what you understood.
Ma'am, I pretty much didn't understand it. But mechanization, it's the way of forming your debate speech.
Yeah. So basically, when you look at a motion, do you guys know now how to at least identify what problem there is in a specific motion? You guys know how to do that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes.
mechanization is basically everything that you do to frame your argument better. Your problems that you identified in a particular motion are probably, if they are like of three types, basically you go on asking a sets of why questions. You get a problem, you ask why it arises, how it impacts how it impacts people who are involved with the motion, or whoever is getting affected with the motion, and then you ask how are they affected by it and what you can do to solve their problems or things like that. So everything that you do to frame up your argument and make sure it is deep enough is what mechanization is.
So, ma'am, basically, it's like recognizing the problems in the speech, and you have, but, ma'am, I still did not understand it properly. Is
Like,
it
ma'am,
the
in simple words, can we say mechanization is just framing our debate and which points we will speak first and which point we will speak later on?
Yeah, it basically is that. It is identifying your problems and then framing all your arguments in a certain way.
So, ma'am, should like mechanization, is it like we like put it first in our speech? Like, we like it's the first thing that is mandatory, or like I did not get it.
Look, it is not something that you have to come out and say that, okay, look, this is what my mechanization is going to be. You don't have to come up and say that, right? What this thing helps you in your prep time. So mechanization is just a term that you use for everything you do to frame your arguments better. As in, you have a problem, how are you going to solve it? You identify problems and then show how you win the debate by showing how you work through those problems, right? Mechanization is nothing but you getting up more arguments to show the panel or the opposition that look, this is what we're doing to win the case. That is what mechanization is.
So basically, more proofs to like tell them that yes, they are wrong, and to basically show our arguments properly.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, you'll understand this by the end of the session. Or you can
So
ask me about it later on.
mechanization is basically you trying to form your arguments through the points that you find are wrong by questioning them.
Yeah, that's also a part of mechanization. I'll take the doubts later on. I think we've spent quite enough time on this. Okay, so contents of today's session is stakeholder analysis, clash analysis, and how you weigh your arguments or impacts. So, what do you understand by stakeholders? Anyone who knows like the general meaning of stakeholders, probably you would have heard your dad
The
or mom
people
talk
who are
about it.
having the problem.
People that are being affected
Yeah, yeah,
by the thing.
exactly. People
Yeah,
who are getting affected in that motion.
yeah, good. Okay, so like I did ask before, all of you now know like to identify what sort of problems arises in a particular motion, right? So stakeholders are basically everyone who are affected by these problems. And I've written these are people who are affected by the problems and they should be relevant to the case. Keep this in mind. I will focus on this further on. I'll be asking you something about this later on. So keep it in mind. They should be relevant to the case. Okay. So and then stakeholders are you can basically categorize them into three different categories, and that being the states, the social movements or communities, and individuals. Right? Uh, do you understand the difference between all three? Like there's a very minor difference, and that is the number of people. Like there are individuals who are very less like it's just one person that you're talking about. And then you move on to communities or social movements, which is basically a group of all these individuals. So it's higher in number, and then states, which are further higher in number, right? And then stakeholders for a particular motion can be a combination of states and social movements, for example, or social movements and individuals, for example, or states and individuals, or probably like all three of them together. Like suppose for a feminist movement motion where you're talking about how the feminist movement is impacting people. Here in this case, what will be the stakeholders? Can anyone come up and tell me?
Maybe the women.
Uh-huh,
The
and
female
Kumar?
population.
Yeah, I think Kumar and then Purna. Do you
And
have
can you
anything else
repeat
to
the
say?
question?
Suppose you're talking about a feminist motion where you're talking about how the feminist movement is affecting people. Who do you think the stakeholders will be? Purna?
First says women, but
The
soon,
genders.
The
Wait,
female population.
yeah, okay. Purna
yes,
first and then Kumar.
of course, the female population, but I'd also say men and even the male counterparts of the population, they would also be affected by the feminist.
Okay, Kumar.
The other genders apart from females.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so you guys are more or less correct. But like, uh, do you also think that individuals who are affected by these sort of movements, you more or less said that it is these are individuals who are affected by this movement, right? what about the movement on its own? Like the feminist movement is also getting impacted because of these individuals, right? It's vice versa. It does not go in a single way. Don't you agree? The
I
feminist movement
mean,
is also a stakeholder in
Yes,
this.
ma'am.
but how, ma'am? How is the
Yes.
movement getting affected by the people,
Yes, ma'am.
not
How
the
is the movement
individual?
getting affected?
It can get affected by misogynists, for example.
We're talking about
Like
the
how?
stakeholders
No,
of the movement, or we're talking about the stakeholders of the movement. So, how can the movement itself be a stakeholder of itself?
we are talking about the stakeholders of the motion, not of the particular movement. You'll understand better. I have written it. I will explain it very clearly, and then we can talk about this. I have included a motion like this, which you can discuss in the class.
Excuse me, mom. Yeah, mom. Mom, I have a doubt. Um,
Yeah,
yes, mom. Mom, my doubt is that are like stakeholders, as you said, are the people who are affected by the case. So, like, do we use them as examples in our speech?
yeah, you definitely can. Like, uh, stakeholder analysis is like the easiest way to, analyze the case or like help you mechanize this case when you have like no idea about the motion. Like you can identify the stakeholders and then analyze how each one of them is affected, and you can make an entire case on that, and it will turn out to be good if you do enough analysis. At least it has worked out for me and most of my friends all the time.
So,
So
so mom,
it
they are basically proofs. Proof. So,
yeah,
mom, they're like
stakeholder
basically proofs for
analysis.
our
Yeah,
arguments.
yeah.
So, ma'am, basically, stockholders are like our examples or the like the references we use in our debates.
No, they're not examples or references that you use in a debate. They see, for example, in a debate, you make up your arguments and then you talk about impacts, right? At the end of the day, these stakeholders are people who are getting affected by those impacts.
Okay,
Yes.
ma'am. Thank you.
Himadri P, do you have a doubt?
No, I don't. You can continue. Thanks.
You've raised your hand. Anyways, for example, we try this motion, which is the House opposes the narrative that parents should sacrifice themselves for their children. What do you think the stakeholders are? Do you think parents are
The
stakeholders
parents,
in
the
this?
children,
Ma'am, parents.
mom, the
The
stakeholder
children.
will be
Parents,
the
children.
children and the
Guys,
narrative
guys,
itself.
guys.
Ma'am, the
I
whole
think
I need
community.
you to raise hands and I need you to stop
parent.
talking.
Okay, I have raised my hand.
Yeah, and I'll call out your name and then talk because you are like 40 of you. It's going to get tough if all of you start talking. Yeah, Shireen.
The parents, the children, and the narrative.
Narrative, yes, more or less the community, yes. Uh, Arjun. Okay, guys. So all of you do agree that parents and children are stakeholders in this. Do you agree that community will also be a stakeholder in this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
I
Do
don't
ma'am.
you,
think so.
Mom.
Yes.
yeah, so do you agree that when parents change their ways of parenting, a child turns out to be in a particular way, and the child will further go on and live in the society, and hence and the children might is also a part of the society, so will do its part in like shaping the society as well. So that is how the community is getting affected. Yeah, all of you can stop raising your hands. Also, why is stakeholder analysis important? Like
Excuse
I
me, ma'am.
said,
I had a doubt.
yeah,
How is community a stakeholder?
yeah, like I said now, community is a part Because if parents change their ways of parenting, right, it is quite probable that a child will also grow up in certain ways, right? For example, now you are like 12th or 10th grade kids who are there, and you have grown up a certain way, and do belong to a part of a community, you do belong to a community, you do belong to a society, right? And you play a small part of shaping the society with your thoughts. You make sure you still shape the community, right? Suppose you have a bunch of people who are a part of the community who are like very against the LGBTQ plus community, and then there comes newer people who are part of the LGBTQ plus community, and they try to change this community. They will more or less, even though there'll be a lot of backlash, you might expect at least like a percentage of the community to change, right?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Also, why is stakeholder analysis important? It basically, like I said, once you do your arguments, in the end, you're left with a certain set of impacts. Impacts are everything that you need to win the case. If you build your arguments very nicely and do your entire speech, you spoke great, amazing, all good. But until and unless you don't show impacts as to why whatever you said for like 6 to 7 minutes is relevant to your case or why is it important, it makes no sense to the panel or whoever is judging, right? So what stakeholder analysis helps you to do is identify who are the vulnerable stakeholders or who are the important stakeholders, and then how the case that you built is helping those stakeholders more, and hence you win the case. Yeah, Prabjot, do you have a doubt or was it a mistake?
No, I didn't have a doubt. Before this, you told me about a stakeholder analysis, right?
Yeah.
So, like you told us that for example, you talked about the emotion, right? So you told us that it was the stakeholder itself. Can you just elaborate a little more? I still didn't understand.
Can you repeat what you said?
You talked about the feminist motion, right? Before this, when I asked you that how can a stakeholder be a stakeholder of itself? Can you elaborate more on that?
Yeah, I have. Further on, like I told you, there are three different types of stakeholders, and I've focused on each stakeholder and how you can do the analysis. I will be talking about that. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Aditri,
Yes, ma'am. I was asking that do we use the stakeholders topic in our impact of the argument that we make? Like,
uh, yes, you can definitely use it in impacts, but you can also definitely use it throughout your entire speech. And I
okay, ma'am.
preferably say it is uh, at least what we do is when you're doing your speech, you come up and say, look, panel, these are the stakeholders according to us for this debate, and we are going to show you how these stakeholders are benefited by the end of our case. Like it helps. It is really impressive if you can like come up and mention the stakeholders and then clearly show the edges how you're, you know, benefiting all these stakeholders.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Now, like I told you, there are three different types of stakeholders, right? We start off by individual stakeholders. Individual stakeholders are basically people, right? General people. You, me, in any motion, if we are involved, then we are considered to be individual stakeholders. So, when you realize that people make a lot of decisions in their day-to-day life, right? Probably even them voting for a party or like the people who they talk to every day are still like their decisions every day. So you have to understand that these decisions or incentives of these people for like in like any motion are influenced by a lot of factors like personal beliefs and community sentiments and like past experiences or how they've grown up, or how probably where they're studying, and all these things make up make like a lot of impact on how people make their decisions, right? Like like I've written here, you can try asking yourself some questions to like understand how these, factors influence people, right? Like you do observe that a lot of immigrants socialize with like people of their own home country, or people who speak their language rather than the people of that country to which they've immigrated. Like a lot of you might have like cousins who live abroad, right? So I think you would have
Yes,
realized
ma'am.
that they have this entire community of friends who are Indians, and then they mostly have celebrate their birthdays and all sort of important events with them only. It is very rare that you find them celebrating intimate events with the people of that country. And also, you would have realized that at home, parents would decide which party to vote to. And suppose, especially if it's a minority community that we're talking about, they would trust a person from that minority community better than some random candidate who's coming to them and asking them for votes, right? Because they trust that candidate from the same community, and they trust him that he's going to help their community better. We're not talking about people who are very educated and are, you know, who make very rational decisions all the time. You can think about this as like laborers who have, come from the village and are like in the city right now. What would they think? So, like I said, these incentives or decisions are mainly shaped by like three different things. And those are like past experiences or even lack of it, and communal beliefs and opinions, or even foreign, or what they consider foreign or not. Like which people do they consider their own, and which people do they consider foreign. So coming up to past experiences, right? What these do is like critically help in like how a person perceives a particular situation, right? If probably a person who's from a minority community will perceive a situation different than what a person from like a majority community or like majority religion will perceive. So I've given you an example here, which is, suppose you have a black person who probably has to shift to another society or like a community in which he's staying, but that community is a majorly white community, right? And he has to raise his family there, and whether and this is about whether he'll question his choice of moving to that community or not. What do you guys think?
Can you repeat once again?
Yes, ma'am.
Probably not.
Yeah, I'll ask you for the answers, guys. The question was, suppose a black person who has to move to another community because of a career choice and has to raise a family in a particular community, and that community being a white community, would he still question his choice of like moving to that community? Anshika?
Yes, ma'am.
Um,
Ma'am,
I
he
think
would
yes,
question.
because
Virat
yeah,
and
because
Virat, I'll give you the
okay,
chance.
okay, 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 okay.
Anshika.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I think he would question his choice because
Hmm.
he won't be really familiar with those people as they have a different culture, a different background. And given
Yeah,
the past of the whites and the blacks, he might be affected by that.
yeah, yeah. Anyone who thinks otherwise? Anyone who thinks otherwise? Vaishnavi?
Ma'am, can I?
Ma'am, may I?
Who? Yeah, Vaishnavi can, and then Abhishek.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I think that the area and the local factors might affect it as well, and the person's previous experiences with the white community and how they have dealt with them, that would
No,
play a crucial role.
Yeah, it definitely would. But my question is, anyone who thinks that he would not question his choice, he would not think
Ma'am, can
about,
I?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Ma'am, there
go ahead.
might be even a black community, matlab, a black, um, a separate black people for who might be living there because there are chances.
No, I'm not talking about that specific situation. I've already given you a situation, and I'm asking you whether he will question his choice or not. Is there anyone who thinks he won't question his choice, Virat bhai?
Ma'am, can you please repeat the situation once?
The situation is that there is a black person who has to shift his community from where he's staying to another community because of a career choice, and that community that he's shifting to is majorly a white community. So, considering black people come from a minority community, would he question his choice of moving to another white community or not? Is there anyone who thinks he won't question his choice and he would just go?
Can I?
Ma'am, he will question.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, we will
As
question
a,
his choice.
yeah, I
Ma'am,
will,
he
yeah.
may not
Ma'am, but
question.
if that's not necessary, really depends
Ishanvi,
on his own.
I
Yes,
need
ma'am.
you to talk when I ask you, please,
Oh,
because it's
okay,
going to
sorry.
create a lot of problems. Yeah, let Isa speak and then you can talk.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
he
sure.
may not question himself uh, because he wasn't familiar with any past experience of white discriminating the black, and he would say that it's just white people and I can live with them, I can adjust with them, and he would not be familiar with any discrimination, so he would go there,
Ma'am,
not question himself.
ma'am, may I raise a
No.
POI to her?
Excuse
Aryan,
me.
Ma'am, can I raise a POI to her point?
we are not doing speeches, Aryan. I'm so sorry, but you can ask me a question.
Yes, ma'am, I
Uh,
wanted to ask her a question on the point that she raised.
Yeah, we will do that. I have selected like specific motions for you guys to like argue and discuss upon. In this, if we keep on talking, we're gonna waste a lot of time.
And also, we have to remember this fact that we are talking about people who cannot take rational decisions. So there will generally be many stereotypes associated with that black people towards that white
Yes.
people. So I don't think that he would not ask himself twice or thrice before moving to that white community.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Virat. Ishanvi?
Ma'am, may I speak? May I speak on this?
Yeah, I
Aryan,
was
1 minute.
talking. Yeah, not necessarily that he would question it. Really depends on his own personal experience, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So I'll ask all of you guys who think that he won't question his choice like one simple question. Like usually I guess all of you are on social media. Usually when you go to social media, you find a lot of like jokes, jokes which are, quite racist. Jokes made just casually. Don't you think more or less it does affect these communities? And imagine he's going to raise his family there. He probably has kids. Will he be comfortable sending his kids to a school where it's majorly only white people? And
No,
I
absolutely
know,
not.
May I speak?
huh? Think about it, guys. I need you to think, then just talk. I
Like,
will
like in
ask
most
you. I will ask you questions. Huh? I will ask you questions at the end of this. You can ask then. Think about it until then. Okay?
I have a point
Girls, you
related
were
to your
saying something.
question actually.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so basically, you said, will he think about before moving? He will, but for the fact that he's getting a better career option than he was getting before, for a better future
Hmm.
for his children itself. So he would not think that much about it, but he would make sure that his children are safe, but he would still take the opportunity as it does not come every single day.
Exactly. So, how do you weigh the safety of his kids against his career option? Because you can definitely not come up and say his kids are
Ma'am,
definitely going to be safe and he's
ma'am,
going to
he
take care
cannot.
of them.
He
They
simply
would.
cannot. Judging by the white discrimination currently still going on in America, it is not going to be a rational choice for him to favor his career over his children. I don't think that he will make the move.
Yeah, Aryan, I do agree to that. We will discuss about this more at the end of this session. I think we'll have to move on because, like I'm saying it again, it's going to take a lot of time if we argue on every point that is there. Moving on. Uh, how communal beliefs and opinions will impact a person in like making his decisions, right? What this does is, if not directly impact the decision of a person, is change the priority of the decision he's making. See, for example, someone is gay, but they do know that it is considered a sin to be gay in their religion, or like their parents are openly like horrified by the thought and they hate gay people. So don't you think they would more or less think about not even think about the fact that, oh look, I might actually be gay and I should act on it, or like I should think about it and see what it is about. This is, I think you would have read a lot about these if you do follow a lot of influencers online. And the third thing is what they consider or who they consider foreign or not, right? This is this is just a very simple thing, right? It's about who can influence a person better, right? Suppose if you think a person is of your community or is of your group or society, it is very likely that you're going to at least give him a chance and listen to what he's saying than someone who's like from another community and you have like bad experiences with them, right? For example, like a politician from a minority community will definitely gain more support from like people of that minority community, right? Because they at least give him a chance. Because it is very likely that they're going to think that people from other communities are just going to trample all over them and not really give them a power that they really need being a minority community. Then, after I said all this, what you guys should really keep in mind is that there are a lot of external factors that do shape decisions, like you've seen, but like some factors might be more relevant to the case than like the others. So for example, if you're taking a case about like minority communities and like racism or something like that, it is you know the first thing of past experiences is way more appropriate or like way more relevant to be the first stakeholder analysis than the others. Even the last one of what they consider foreign or not can be used when you're talking on behalf of the minority community. But when you're talking on behalf of how there is this thing called racism, the narratives and everything, the first one plays a very, very, very important role. Yeah, Aditri.
Ma'am, I was asking like if the same topic of the black person. So now like our community has started promoting more of it. Like many English web series are supporting that black and white both sit together and study and all. So would
Hmm.
if our opposition mentions this point, then would it matter like what we have said about the past experiences? Like they would.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I got your point. So to that I say, now there are like a lot of social media platforms where you're seeing a lot of news about how inclusivity of black people is happening. But like there are also cases where black people have been killed even to this date, right? And that too by police officers. It was not long before this happened, and it was happening then too, right? The whole thing of inclusivity was happening then too, but this still happened. So just because on like huge platforms this is happening, you can always question as to look, all these are happening, but at the end of the day these people are still suffering in front of the common man. Arjun, I'd appreciate you not playing with the camera.
I'm sorry, my camera
Now,
fell. I'm sorry.
yeah, that's fine. Also, if everyone's clear, we move on to the next part, which is social movements, right? The key thing to like remember when you're doing social movements is that it is very, very, very important to characterize how this social movement is going on in like status quo and how the society perceives that moment, right? Like, for example, the feminist movement has evolved so much in the last 50 years, right? The world did not look the same in like 50 years back as it is right now. And because of the changes that are happening in the community, the way they perceive the social movement also changes. Like one of you had asked, how about hypothetical motions, right? In hypothetical motions, there are also this category where they take up a social movement and they're going, you more or less you have to explain how the social movement looks like 50 years or something like that. So it is very important to like characterize your case in the beginning and then uh, play on, because especially for social movements, if you need to do good stakeholder analysis and you need to show impacts, it is very, very important to characterize. Okay. And like social movements, you have two types of people. One are the extremists. Okay. These are usually small in number. Like by extremists, uh I'll give you an example. Like you find these sort of feminists who are like so into this idea. Sometimes they don't make sense at all. They have like radical ideas and things like that. These extremists are like people who are very small in numbers, have usually have radical ideas, and they're relatively more committed to the movement than others are. Then you have the next sort of people who are more broad and inclusive. They're not as committed to the movement as extremists are, but they're still a part of the movement. And these are people who make up mostly the entire population of people who are interested in the movement, right? So while you are doing analysis, you should be able to show how whatever mechanizations and arguments and like methods that you are taking to solve a problem, it would be very, very, very impressive if you could show how these things are affecting these two categories of people, right? For example, you have, for example, the feminist movement. Okay, let's not take feminism. I think we've talked so much more about it. Suppose the church, you know that there is this main church, the Pope is involved and everything. You know this, right?
Yes.
In
Yeah,
the
you know that.
Vatican City, yes.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
Catholic.
the Vatican Church. Yes, the
Yeah, yeah,
Catholic
yeah,
Catholic
Church.
yeah,
Church.
yeah. Got it, got
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. So like, suppose you have a motion that says these people, this Vatican Church should like, mm, should like come up and make statements and should like propose that being homosexual is fine and gay marriages are fine. So let me just give you like two, three arguments that are usually that go along these lines of this motion, right? And I'll show you how this affects these two types of people. So look, what this can do is that a lot of LGBTQ plus people can transform into Christianity, or like people who are already Christians can help feel more at peace with this decision, because once the Vatican Church approves something, the other churches have to follow it. It is like that. And once the Pope gives out the statement, the other churches have to follow it and will follow it, in fact, right? So what this can do is that these people who are like this part of LGBTQ plus community can be enticed into coming into Christianity or can feel more at place, right? So they'll support this church, which was previously very, very, very traditional, and they probably disagreed with the church the entire time. But then you have these group of extremists, right? These are people who follow like these very, very traditional ideas a lot. What this does to the extremist people is that it goes against their entire values, right? These extremist people usually are like very, very, very hard to change the mindsets of, right? So these people who are probably the most committed to this entire narrative of Christianity and its values and everything will be unhappy about it, right? These people who used to worship the Vatican Church and the Pope will be extremely disappointed by it, and they lose trust in the Pope, right? What will happen is that they lose trust, and it is very rare that they'll come out of Christianity as a whole, but they stop really worshipping the Vatican Church, right? What happens then is that the Vatican Church slowly loses power. But then on the other side, you now have like huge numbers of people who are suddenly more interested into Vatican Church, and you gain a lot more momentum because now you're giving out open values and you're giving out a statement of inclusivity, right? This is how, for example, it affects two different types of people. That is the two different categories which are a part of social movements. Did you get it?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
I got it. Yeah, I got it.
Prabjot, Ishanvi?
So the two communities are basically like the right wingers and the left wingers, right?
Yeah, you can bring up an analogy to that.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, Abhishek.
So, ma'am, basically, social movement is what? Basically, in simple words.
Okay, it'll help you if I give examples. What do you think the feminist movement is? What do you think the LGBTQ plus pride wave is all about? These are social movements. These are social movements, and social movements are basically any sort of thing which a group of people push for and previously has been like stereotyped against. Yeah, Aditri.
Ma'am, so basically, if we mention social movements in our debate, so do we have to like mention the social movements that have occurred, or we have to make the social movements according to our topic and tend to like innovate it more?
I mean, if it's a motion about feminist movement, you will be talking about feminist movement, right? You won't get motions where you're specifically supposed to talk about random social movements.
Okay,
Like you
ma'am.
usually will get like specific social movements that you have to focus on.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. This is one part of the analysis, right? Everything I told right now is like one part of the analysis. Now moving on to the second part of the analysis that you can do for social movements, right? What these are is how the society engages with the social movement. Now you did okay, fine, you have like different people and you saw what they do. Like, how do these people actually engage with the social movement is what this analysis is more about, right? So first is the cultural engagement that they have, right? Like I've said, there might exist pre-existing notions or beliefs that go against the message, or like it means what is the current attitude of the movement, right? For example, usually, even in our society, it is very, very, very patriarchal, right? It goes against the feminist movement. It goes against the entire message of giving women equal power because it's a patriarchal society. It has been a patriarchal society for like ages, right? How are people perceiving this movement then? It literally changes their entire values, it changes their teachings, it changes traditions. How are people actually, you know, reacting to it is what this means. I'll take your questions, give me a minute. Even the LGBTQ plus movement, for example, you know that a man loves woman, woman loves man since like ages. You know that they get married, only these people are supposed to get married. This is what people have learned, this is what traditions have like imposed on us, right? But then now suddenly people are coming up and saying, oh, a man and man can also marry, a woman and woman can also marry. It's fine, love is love, and all that. How do you think people are, reacting to it? Like, we are like Gen Z. Now you know that, oh my God, I should be more inclusive and I should respect people's choices. But you might also have like grandparents at home or some parents also, as a matter of fact, who are like, bro, that's just atrocious. That's horrendous. What's happening? Yeah, doubts, guys. Aryan, do you have doubt?
Can I speak on this topic? Can I speak on this topic?
No, wait till I finish. Abhishek.
I want to answer your question.
That no, it's a question that I gave for you to like think, not really answer.
Okay,
Because
got
yeah, there are a lot of people I know who have like answers to this. It's going to take time. We already finished like 1 hour of our session, and we still have a lot to go. Okay, Aryan, do you still have a doubt? Chavi, I just said, how do you think different people in your family are reacting to like the LGBTQ plus community? We are not running short on time. We can extend the session if you guys are interested. But I'm just saying the time that we have is till like 10:30 if I'm not wrong. But don't
Yeah,
worry, I'll
it's
cover
like
everything. Yeah. Okay. So the next part is how there is political engagement, right? For example, how the government is reacting to your movement. Like, is the government ready to like come up and support the entire notion of what your social movement is about? Or is the government just ready to do like or follow your motion just because it will help them gain more votes? Like people who are standing for like candidature in a particular place might support what the minority community stands for just because they want votes, and later they'll be like, I don't have anything to do with you now that I got votes. So these are different kinds of questions that you can ask yourself while doing political engagement analysis. Okay? So with this while doing social movement analysis, what you really have to keep in mind is that social movements are at the end of the day a group of individuals, right? A group of individuals who are pushing forward a message basically, and hence you should not consider a monolith. Social movement is made up of individuals, and like we discussed before, individuals' decisions can be affected by a lot of things, and individuals can have different opinions, and hence, even in like social movements, there'll be different opinions. For example, extremists and like the broad and inclusive people, right? They're still part of the same movement. You cannot just come up and say the entire movement stands for this. You can, of course, come up and say the entire movement stands for a particular message. You cannot say the entire movement's decision is this. Okay? Also, the states. Yeah, Abhishek.
Ma'am, like you said, an entire movement can't say a decision. But ma'am, why? But maybe some
An
people
entire
can agree
movement
upon
cannot.
give one decision that they want this or that. Ma'am, but why can't they? Maybe most of the people are agreeing upon one idea.
Yeah, like for example, the feminist movement will, of course, agree upon the idea that women should be given equal rights, right? But take the Vatican Church example that I gave you. The extremists are not happy with the decision, but the broad and more inclusive people are, and that if it affects the Vatican Church, the entire movement in like different ways, right? Of course, you can agree to it. I'm just saying this is also a possibility, and don't just keep thinking it is a possibility. It is not a possibility always, right? You can always have a possibility of dissent, and I'm asking you to consider that.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, because in feminist movement, they all might just collectively agree to a fact that women should get equal rights, but then individuals might vary on by saying that some things in some topics women should not get the rights. So like on that basis, they might vary up.
Yeah, yeah, because it again is made up of a lot of different people, and they have different intensities of being involved in the movement. Okay, next we go to clash by clash analysis. What is it? When you realize, when you like when you listen to the word clash, what comes to your mind? In a debate, of course.
Arguments about
Conflicting
Arguments
ideas.
against each other.
Yeah, Purna.
I mean, the arguments clash together.
Yeah.
Conflicting ideas.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
And
good. All of you are good.
difference of opinions.
Yes, good. Okay, yeah, you have given me quite the answers. Guys, also, I would really appreciate you raising hands, guys. Come on, how hard is it? Also, okay, coming back to this, clash by clash analysis is more or less like the summary of the entire debate of whatever happened. Like, in like very simple words, you're like, look, panel, they came up and said this, but they came up and said this. We came up and told you why they're wrong. They came up and told us why we are wrong, but they made no sense. uh, Debates get pretty heated, and this is basically what it is. And then what the important part is that while having this discourse of like arguing and showing how you are better, you should never forget to show that your case is better because of everything you've done, and every mechanization that you've done should be shown that it is better than the opposition's. Yes, Arya.
Is it similar? Do we can we speak like at any random order, or is it like speech? Can we interrupt the speaker while they're speaking?
No, you cannot interrupt the speaker while they're speaking. This clash by clash analysis comes in your speech. So, like, do you guys know that in an AP you have three different types of speakers? In the Gov, you have PM, DPM, and government whip, and yeah, okay. And in the opposition, you have LODLO and opposition whip, right? So
Yes, ma'am.
this clash by yes, yes, this clash by clash analysis usually comes in the latter half of the debate. In the by the latter half, I mean the DPM and government whip, or the DLO and LO, because by the time these people speak, the opposition would have given you enough content. Not even DPMs, as a matter of fact, government whips, because the opposition would have given you enough content for you to like engage upon. It makes no sense for like a PM or LO to come up and you know preempt what's gonna happen and then give out the entire thing, because you don't know what the other person is going to come out and say, right? So there are majorly three types of clashes, right? And those three different scenarios are where both sides agree upon how the motion plays out in two different contexts. Okay, so see, suppose you have a motion of an international relation motion, right? Of how you have two different, suppose something about trade barriers and how trade barriers should be reduced in like European countries, because you do know that there's something called European Union, and this European Union is like is like the entire collection of all those countries in Europe, and they're governed by one single head called European Union. Guys, do you know this or not? Because I don't want to
Yeah.
give an irrelevant example. Do you know
Yes,
Yeah.
it?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so this European Union can we had a motion on this, which is basically the European Union supports the removal of trade barriers within these European countries, right? So sometimes in a debate, what happens is both government and the opposition come up and say, look, we agree that for a developing country, this decision is good, but for a developed country, this decision is good, but for a developing country, it is not. Okay, but then, what? Give me a minute. So, like, what is important in this case is that how you show your mechanizations, and then how you show that your case is more feasible than theirs. Suppose you have like method gov has method one, uh, op has method two. What you can do then is like very smartly focus on how whether their case or whether their method is feasible or not. You can definitely uh, have a win on that. You can definitely come up and say, panel, what all they've said is okay, but they're assuming a very, very ideal world. And this might not even happen. Like, if it happens, great, but this might not even happen in the first place. And then if you show them why it is more likely that this is not going to happen, and your case has a higher chance of being feasible, then you'll take the debate. You'll easily take the debate. So keep this in mind. So the second thing is that you agree on certain impacts, but again, you have different mechanizations to achieve it. You have different methods to achieve it. Like like sometimes you'll be like, look, for the feminist movement, we know it needs to gain more attention. We know it needs to bring about change. We know that women have to be respected more or like given equal rights. Like gov will have a different way to do it, off will have a different way to do it, according to another obstacle that will probably be mentioned in the motion. So like then you'll have to analyze the impacts and show that whatever mechanizations that you're giving are more efficient, which is nothing but feasibility again, and they impact people more, they impact the stakeholders better. Okay, this is how the second clash works out. On the third one is that you have like extremely polar debates. Like the gov is coming and telling a set of rules and everything, and they're giving a set of arguments, and the op is coming up and setting up their own rules and giving up another set of arguments. What this does is like give them extremely different impacts. So then you have to weigh your impacts with the other teams, and then show you which impact is more favorable to the case or which impact is better to the case. Again, see how these impacts are affecting the stakeholders better, right? This is what clash by clash analysis is. Is there any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so I have a motion for you guys. Yup, Ishanvi.
Can you shift the slide to the previous one? I need to take a screenshot, please. Thank you.
Yup. So, like, I have a motion for you guys. In fact, I have three. This is the first one. What do you think can be the like clashes for this?
Ma'am, can you explain the motion once?
Okay. Okay. Also, guys, how many of you are fine with like extending the session for a couple of minutes?
By a couple of minutes, you mean 10 to 15 minutes?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, for 10
Can
minutes, I
you
can be okay.
Okay, cool.
repeat what you
Because
said?
I asked how many of you are like okay with extending the session for a couple of minutes.
5 minutes, okay, no, not more than
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, ma'am,
No,
also same
because
with me.
yeah, because I think it's better if I like finish the theory part and then go to these motions. Because whoever can stay back for a couple of minutes can discuss on this. Does that work?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yep, it does.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
cool. Okay. Next, we move on to weighing. So, what do you guys understand by weighing? What do you think it is? On debate terms, of course.
Basically, the importance of some points.
Ma'am, how much in impact your arguments create?
Yep.
Putting
Like,
more
How
This is
much
emphasis
is
a
on
how much
particular
your
point.
how much your
okay.
like
speech impacts
influential.
on the listeners?
Yeah, okay, I've got the answers. Great. Virat, quite a close answer. Nice one.
Thank you.
Okay, so weighing weighing basically means comparing your arguments and impacts with the oppositions on basis on basis of a few different metrics, right? And showing why your arguments are better and why your impacts are better, why they're more relevant to the case, and why the opposition's case is like just filled with shit. Okay. So some metrics that can be used are how the reach of the impact or like the reach of your argument and how many number of people are like affected by it and why does your impact have a better reach than the others and why that's important, right? And then the second thing is like intensity of harm. Like, okay, you've given out your mechanizations, you've given out your impacts, but this while you're doing all this, the opposition's thing is harming other people more than yours, right? So you can always call this out and be like, look, they're harming more number of people, they're causing even more harm. And then you while you're mentioning this, keep in mind that you also have to mention how it is causing harm, right? And why causing harm to like other people is important. And showing that look, they're causing this much harm, which is not good, but we are relatively causing very less harm or like no harm at all, and that's why our case is better. And then the third is feasibility. Like I also said in the class by class analysis, you have to like uh, show and argue upon feasibility, because even though you make a very important case, without weighing, you will you'll be it is very likely that you're going to lose the debate. So it is very important to do mention your impacts and then weigh it, right? Even if the whip comes up and does not do clash by clash analysis, it's fine. They lose out on speaker scores. But if you don't do weighing, you lose out on your entire case. It is very, very likely. Like you have no idea how easily you can lose the case just because you uh, did not do the weighing part. Okay. The third one is uniqueness. Uniqueness is basically how whether it is possible for like to achieve this in like different ways. Suppose you have the impact. Is it possible? Is it an impact which can be achieved only because of what mechanization you gave, or can it be achieved by like so many other things as well? If it can be achieved by so many other ways, why is it even unique in the first place? Why is it that you should be credited for the argument than the opposition, right? So it is important to make your cases exclusive. And also, guys, a tip for this: do not use ChatGPT while you're making your speeches, because you may lose out on the uniqueness part. Because ChatGPT will give you out very systematic answers, and then you cannot think more, right? Uniqueness is really important. You can also call out uniqueness. This is also one way that you can
Uh,
win
excuse
the
me, what?
case.
Also, I think that
Yes.
in many debates, using ChatGPT is actually illegal, like it's banned.
Yeah, it is. Yes, Shreyas.
Even in our schools, MUN, like it's not allowed. Like we can bring a computer, but they say that if you use ChatGPT, then they'll disqualify you.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
too
it is
unfair.
illegal. Yes, it is illegal, but people still do it sometimes, and I hope you are not a part of those people. Shreya, you had
Ex-
listen. Yeah.
Yes, mom. Mom, can you like about the weighing part? It's as you said, comparing your arguments and impacts with that of opposition. So is it like basically comparing your speech and like guessing that okay, this my opposition said this. Now what should I do? What should I do for my next speech and debate?
Yeah, but like, see, weighing is that you cannot just say, look, we did this, they did this. That makes no sense. That's why we win this debate. That is not how you do weighing. The way you do weighing is, look, we came up with this and they came up with that. Okay? And now I gave you a set of arguments as to why we came up with this and why ours is better and why theirs is bad, right? And then you also should show that once why is yours better? Like, okay, because of all of your arguments, you reached an impact. Why is your impact better? Of course, when the other team is coming up with like a set of arguments, they would have impacts as well, right? But you need to show why your impacts are better. Otherwise, you're just gonna say, okay, we win this because we did this. We win this because we did this. It should not be that way. You should show that look, we won this because our impacts at the end of the day are still way better than what they are proposing.
Okay, mom, but I have a doubt. Like, what's the difference between weighing and rebuttals then?
Wait. Okay. So like rebuttals is something that you argue to like destroy the other person's case, right? Everything you do in debating is to destroy the other person's case and like win, right? You give rebuttals because they came up with something, and then it is you feel you of course you have to prove that it is wrong, and hence you give rebuttals, right?
And what's the and like, mom, I'm
Right?
getting confused between weighing and rebuttals.
Right? Did you get that?
Mom, your voice is
Rebuttals
I
are.
can't
Your voice was cracking up.
How is it now?
better.
Better
Okay.
than before.
Okay. Okay. So I asked, did you understand what rebuttals are?
Yes, mom, I know. I just need to know
Yeah.
the difference
Okay.
between the two.
Yeah. 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 So you do know that you have problems and then mechanization and then impacts. You know that, right?
Mom, mechanization is basically when you're
Okay.
like,
Arguments,
yeah,
problems, your arguments or methods, and then impacts, right?
yeah,
You know, okay. That goes for your case as well as your opposition's, right?
okay,
what what you do in weighing is that look, after all the speeches you came up with the final product, which is impacts, right? In
okay,
like while you're doing rebuttals, you're questioning their ability to even reach the impacts, right?
okay.
In weighing, what you do is like, okay, assume that you reach the impacts, but even when you reach the impacts, ours is better. Got it?
Ours is better. Mom, can I just ask you, like, when does weighing happen? Does it happen at the end, like after we're done with our two or three speeches?
Yeah, it can happen in the end because, but if you give up like a very nice PM speech and you are able to mention your impacts also in the PM's or LO speech, then you can do it. PM is not possible because you have not really heard what the other team has to say, and that's kind of unfair. Like DPM and LO, you can go for it.
Okay, mom. May I ask you that how many speeches do we have to like give
As in,
exactly? As in,
uh,
like, when we are debating, how many times do we have to like? How many rounds will there be?
for the tournament that's gonna come up,
Yeah, like as in
that
one.
you'll get to know. In
Okay.
one debate, in one, you're a team of three, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So,
We all have to
so
speak
you'll be
once,
giving
right?
only one speech. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. Moving on.
Excuse me,
You
ma'am.
have to. Yeah, Abhishek.
Ma'am, can you again explain how does feasibility affects or how does feasibility wanna help
Okay.
us?
Okay. Yeah. Feasibility is nothing but how possible is it for your case to like happen or your arguments to occur, right? Like you have you have like realizations and you have like different methods to achieve something, right? Feasibility is basically questioning that entire thing of whether is it possible to happen or not, because sometimes there are motions where people come up and say we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll do this, like they don't really keep resources into mind, like where are you getting money to like make all of this possible. When you're asking this, the question of where they're getting the money from, you're questioning their feasibility.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, so you should keep in mind that all these metrics are not relevant to like every motion, right? For different motions, you'll probably have to use like a combination of different metrics. So keep in mind as to which one you can use and don't just go on using everything. Yeah, I've given you an example here to like understand it better. So, the motion is the House opposes the romanticization of LGBTQ plus relationships in popular media. Example, you would have seen the movie Red, White, and Royal Blue or Heartstopper, which is a series if I'm not wrong. How many of you have watched these? Okay, this is quite less. Yeah, good.
I have
So
watched.
you haven't. Okay, these are movies basically and series where they promote LGBTQ plus relationship, right? I think Heartstopper is about two guys, so is Red, White, and Royal Blue. Yeah. So basically, the motion means that this house opposes the romanticization of LGBTQ plus relationships in popular media. That is, they say that these LGBTQ plus relationships should not be encouraged on popular media. And popular media being all sorts of social media platforms and like movie platforms, OTT platforms, all these come under popular media, right? A few impacts that I've suppose like the just on the top of your mind. If you don't get impacts on the top of your mind, it's fine. It'll take a lot of practice to get there. But like a few impacts at least that came to me on the top of my mind are these, which is social representation will be harmed. Like LGBTQ plus people, especially in like India or even consider the entire world, have a tough time coming out to people they love, right? So like they don't like really relate to people of like mostly their community when they're growing up until and unless it's like a very rare case. It is very unlikely that they relate or like feel belonged into a specific community because usually there is still a lot of stigma against that community, right? So this representation on like social media or these platforms helps them a lot, right? Helps them like social platform representation is like very important because you know that you can still be something which is like stigmatized in the community but still make it to places. You can do anything you want, right? It is really 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 important. And the another and while the social representation is decreased, it is very highly unlikely, it is almost like discouraging these people to even be who they are. And the next impact is uh, is is that these popular media platforms have a reach and influence on people that cannot be brought about like probably news channels or like newspapers, right? So this will affect the LGBTQ plus community. This will affect them because they need people to change, right? They need people to change and they need people to be like more open towards these people. But now that one of their chance if like these popular media platforms disappears, it's going to harm them, right? Do you agree or not? Do you agree to these two impacts?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, so like could you try categorizing these two impacts? Take a photo if you need to like go back to it. Can you categorize these under these metrics? Like that impact is happening. If someone like goes against you for it, what which one of these following metrics can you use to like compare your case?
Excuse me, ma'am.
I mean, reach of people will be a lot.
Yeah, yeah, good. That is for the second impact, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone have anything else to say?
I
The
mean, intensity of
feasibility as well,
Feasibility, why?
because that okay, that is also similar to the reach part, but people are more likely to know about it through through the social medias and the OTT. And they prefer
Yeah, but
that, so
like
it will be more feasible.
no, but like you're not entirely banning them from mentioning this in like newspapers, right? Yes, you're banning them from like not using it on platforms, like social platforms. But like you're not banning it on like newspapers.
Can you once again explain the motion?
Yeah, the motion is that um, they ban the highlighting of LGBTQ plus relationships on like popular media platforms like Netflix or YouTube or social media platforms, etc. Yeah, the three.
Ma'am, I think the intensity of harm also would be like considered because
Yes, nice.
banning them would like hurt the LGBT community.
Yes.
Actually, like it should
Ma'am,
be that
actually, who people will
people.
be good influenced by their platforms may that not be happening also.
Huh?
Actually, I think that the people they banned they banned exposing LGBTQ ethnicities on these social media platforms. I think that instead of banning them, they should promote the awareness of that these are the people who need to be felt that they who need to be like felt inclusive, or they need to be included into the society, into the community, instead of just removing them. So it's
Yeah,
like it's
exactly.
just worsening the effect.
Yeah, yeah. Chavi, do you have something to say?
Ma'am, they should promote other than women.
No.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Hitarth, Hitarth as a Himadri.
Ma'am, I don't think that LGBTQ plus community should be promoted at such a high level, and I don't think they will come. They would make a great impact on the upcoming generation, as it is enough, you know, trampled and all. I don't think the LGBTQ plus community will do any good to the upcoming generation. So it should be banned.
So
Exactly.
basically, you are saying that you are cutting off a part of the community completely.
You know,
Guys,
one,
guys,
like
we don't need
Almighty
debates
created
here.
us. He created humans, women, and men.
As a
Okay. He did
As
not
a
created anybody else.
They
Yep.
are also women and men. They
Yeah,
just
Yeah,
love other
excuse
exactly.
me.
people.
Are you aware?
Excuse me.
Yeah,
Wait a
exactly. I'm
second.
just saying they're
Are
not
there
men in
people
Listen,
who
general.
Very
don't have
controversial
X,
topic.
X and Y chromosomes in their body, huh?
guys,
No, I feel like this
guys,
is very controversial
Like
I
in
topic.
mean,
most of
It
the
is
come
cases,
on,
actually
it's about
dude.
humanity.
controversial
You
topic.
being
Like
for
It is
real,
a
huh?
very argumentative topic, and I don't want to harm
these things
anybody.
may
It's not all about God.
I'm just
guys,
making my point.
guys,
It's not debate here, it's
guys,
a session.
like one day may
I need you to stop, okay? We are not having a debate here. You can as well have a debate with them, get their contacts and like debate with them. It's going to get problematic if like 40 people start talking. Do you get that?
Yes, ma'am.
And yes, and you need to listen.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. I'm very
Yes.
sorry, but what she said was too much
I
absurd.
know, I know, I know, I know.
I mean, literally, like God and all.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
not speaking
Yes.
much. I'm not speaking
Yes.
much.
Yes, Isa. That was an opinion, and you can share opinions, but I would just urge you to be more sensitive to like people, okay? While making this, because these are like sensitive matters. Just think, just think about others, and if they might get offended, I'd suggest you to not talk about it. Okay, guys. So yeah, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Guys, you can take like a picture of these. I just selected a few like motions for you to practice all the contents of today on, because I think these motions really highlight stakeholder analysis and will help you like categorize different clashes and like help you weigh out. Okay, it's a nice. These are nice motions that you can uh, practice on. Also, these might also these might help you for the tournament as well. So I'd suggest you like at least going through these motions and then practicing on it. Also, guys, I haven't really included it on the slides. Yeah, I'll see what I can do. I will share it to the people of
Ma'am, now
fanatics.
are we gonna to do motion practice?
We can. I just have one more thing to say.
Oh, sure, ma'am.
That okay? Yeah. I've not included in the slides, but you guys should always keep in mind best case scenario and worst case scenario. Like, it is nothing but, you know, challenging the other people's case entirely. And you can start this off from the PM speech. This is basically nothing but saying that look, okay, let's assume best case scenario of the opposition. Even if you have assumed best case scenario, these are the things that are going to happen, and these things can be achieved through my mechanization also. So basically, it's like challenging the uniqueness of their entire case. So best case and worst case scenario is like a very, very, very strong way to, make your case and like make it super solid and, make it very impressive. So what I mean to say is that start off like in the end of your speech, the last few
Like,
minutes,
I'm
what you
not
can
very
say.
clear with best case and worst case. Can you just explain it in brief?
Yeah, yeah. So it's basically like, look, even if you assume best case scenario of the opposition's entire arguments and everything, right? These are the things that are mostly going to happen. Best case scenario. So even if you assume a very ideal world, these are the things that can happen, right? And
Hmm.
these things I can achieve through my mechanizations as well. So so whatever they're saying can be achieved through mine as well. So it's
Hmm.
not unique. And you
Okay.
can also and this is like one of the scenario, and in another scenario you can say these are the best case scenarios, and they're not even helping people as much,
Hmm.
like they're not even helping stakeholders that much,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
ours is. And even in and the next thing that you can say that is that even in our worst case scenario, Like assume a world, ideal world where everything that we are doing is going against us, and it's the worst case. You can see that even in the worst case, we are protecting these people, or we are protecting these stakeholders, which at the end of the day is important to us, right? So even in their best case scenario, they're able to achieve only this much. Even in our worst case scenario, they're assuring that. So our best case scenario will like be highlighted even more. So that's why we're winning. Did you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So do this properly. Like if you just go on and make up random things and say, it will just come off as attitude to the judges, and that's not really great. Okay. So talk about this carefully, but always, always, always remember to include this because it is going to make your speeches very, very, very impressive to the judge. Even though the
Thank you, ma'am.
judge, yeah,
Ma'am,
even
are we
though
discussing the first motion right now?
we can, I'm done with the theory.
Mm.
I'll
Okay.
go with a round of doubts first. Anyone who has doubts in anything.
Ma'am, like our
I
next
understood.
today.
I understood best case, just worst case. Once brief again. It's not very clear to me. Just once.
Okay, okay. So you do know that you have problems, methods, and impacts, right?
Yes.
Impacts are like the babies of everything you do, everything that you've built your case upon, right?
Mm. Yeah.
What you're doing in best case scenario is that panel, okay, let's assume that it is a very ideal world and everything that the opposition is coming up and saying can happen, right?
Okay.
So
Mm.
let's assume their impacts happen. Assume it.
Mm.
We are not even questioning about feasibility. That's an entire other whole story. But like assume all their impacts happen.
Okay.
Their impacts can be achieved through my methods as well.
Okay.
Okay, so their case need not be exclusive because you can achieve these impacts through my case as well.
Mm.
And my case is feasible also.
Mm.
So this just does not make sense. My case is better because it's feasible and it's achieving these impacts.
Okay.
You cannot that's in their best case scenario, right?
Hmm.
In their best case scenario, they're getting these impacts. And I can achieve these impacts, or I can achieve even more impacts. That is one case of like achieving the same impact as them. Then there is
And what
case
about
number
worst
two.
case?
Yeah, listen. And there's case number two, where you can say, look, they're achieving these impacts, but us, on the other hand, are achieving these impacts as well as other impacts. And these impact our stakeholders better. And that is not even our best case scenario. But still we're achieving all this. So like their case is not exclusive enough. It's not good enough. And worst case scenario is that okay, Parvin, assume none of our impacts are happening, right? But because of the methods that we are doing, there will be some sort of change. If not the desired impacts, there will be at least some sort of change, right?
Hmm.
And with these change, we are protecting our stakeholders. At least we are protecting some of the stakeholders that are really, really important to us. At the end of the
Okay.
day, that little change that we're making by our methods is still way better than their entire case or whatever, or their entire impacts. Did you get it?
Understood. Yeah. I got it now.
Okay. Abhishek, you had doubts? Okay. Anyone else? Do you have any doubts? Feel free to ask anything even about the sessions before, because this will be your last session, and then we'll have to
Ex-
break.
um,
Yeah.
Ma'am, I would like an explanation of how to use all of what you've explained in our speeches, like clash analysis and all. Like, Uh, I would like to watch some examples.
You
All
want to
that.
watch examples?
No, no, mom. If there are like any YouTube videos or something, I'll go
Yeah, yeah,
search.
yeah. That's what.
So, so I just want a clear idea.
Okay, I think even if you search, there are no YouTube videos which will come up and tell you we're doing clash analysis here and stakeholder analysis here. But
Will
like
you
if
be
you want
sending
to,
a PowerPoint presentation on the group
yeah,
as
yeah,
okay?
yeah, I'll send this. Uh, if you want to watch
I
debates in general, I'd suggest you to check out WUDC finals.
uh,
I'll drop that. You can watch any WUDC videos. I will drop that here.
I just had a question. Could you suggest any competitions or some other such events related to debating that it's not related to the session? I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, yeah. So like a lot of colleges. Where are you from?
I am in Alcon International School,
No, like which
Delhi,
city?
Delhi,
Delhi. And which grade are you in?
12th.
You finished 12th now, or you're going to 12th.
No, no, I'm entering 12th. I've just
You're
entered
entering
12th.
12th grade. Yeah, so a lot of colleges in Delhi, like universities, especially part of the Delhi University, have their tournaments almost it happens every month, honestly. There's one coming up. There is Dialectica coming up, if I'm not wrong. So if you just search up their Instagram pages, you'll find their tournaments, and you can approach to like go attend those tournaments. You'll have to pay. Sometimes it's online, sometimes it's offline. So you'll have to pay a minimum fee, and like you can go participate. You
Excuse me,
can,
ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
no problem.
Ma'am,
Yeah,
what about the people staying in Noida?
Noida as well. You have a lot of colleges. So
So, ma'am,
basically,
like I'm in ninth, so will I be able to participate in?
oh, yeah, you will be able to participate. Also, there is IDL. Yeah,
Yeah, I do follow them, but most of their programs are like international level. I'm not that good at debating right now.
no, don't say that. You can practice enough. Don't worry. I hope these sessions were useful though.
Yeah, yeah, these are like this the
Oh
basically
yeah,
I
these were
think
very
after this
useful.
I'll be able to do. That's why I'm asking. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a few motions for you guys if you want to.
Now comes the fun part.
Guys, okay, wait. I think there was someone who had a doubt about hypothetical motions. Are you still here?
Yeah, in the starting, somebody asked about hypothetical motion or something.
Yeah, like, is there anyone else also who wants an explanation on that? Okay, we can. Did you can read the motion and like take a few minutes, I guess.
When we talk about hypothetical motions, they're like imaginary, right?
Yeah, an example of a hypothetical motion would be like a kind of software that would help you fast forward your life into like 10 years from now. Whether
Oh,
would you choose it or not?
so
And then
how can we?
it will
How
come with
can
a
they be
certain set
debating?
of obstacles. It'll come with a certain set of obstacles. Like for example, they'll tell you that you'll forget everything in
Oh, okay.
like everything that you had your life before, or like you'll
Okay.
forget everything when you come back to your normal life again, or sometimes
Oh.
it'll be like you cannot even come back to the same point again and things like
Can you
that.
show the
But
second and the third motion once?
yeah, yeah, I will. But like these motions are usually for like they're quite difficult motions. I don't think you'll be made to like debate on it right now because it takes a lot of practice and like lots of strong characterization to build your case. Yeah, Chavi.
Excuse me, like if we don't have any doubts, can we please leave?
Yeah, yeah, you can leave.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem.
The third one. Thanks.
No problem. Do you guys want to have a debate now? I think we have way past our time.
Could you repeat the name of that competition? I can't really find it online.
It is on the chat.
Oh, you sent it. I'll send it.
Had it been 10:15 right now, I would have definitely debated about these, at least about the motion 3, but I don't think I have time right now. It's 10:46 already.
Okay,
Yeah, I think
thanks. I got the message. Thanks.
yeah, I think we should be ending this meet as well. Any more doubts, guys? I really don't want you leaving with like doubts you can ask.
Ma'am,
Other
can you
than that,
show
yeah,
ma'am, can you show the three motions so at least we can take the pick and practice once?
yeah, you can. Uh,
Ma'am, can you show the second one? Thank you so much, ma'am.
no problem. I think we can end the meet here.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Also, people from Olatics, can I just end the meet?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah,
Ma'am, I had a doubt.
yeah.
Ma'am, can you give an example of a motion, an example of a characterization of that motion, just like to clear it out?
Characterization of emotion. Do
Yes.
you